is the weekly report on Ebru Africa. Many thanks for joining us today. I'm Rina Shivisi. In the headlines.
It was a serious request. They terminated the case against Ambassador Mathaura, realizing they got it wrong, realizing their key witness that they put forward as a witness of truth at confirmation had lied.
Ruto's case at the ICC. Kenya's Deputy President William Ruto back home after case is adjourned to next week. Central Africa killings. President dismisses head of army as fighting persists.
We have already lost 2 generations and we can't afford to lose another generation. So we have to do something.
Somali literacy. Government launches anti-literacy campaign aimed at sending 1 million children to school. And good news for Kenyans as massive water reservoirs discovered in Turkana. The people of Turkana, who live in one of Kenya's driest areas, have something to smile about after massive water was struck at the area. According to scientists, the people of Turkana have been sitting on massive undiscovered water reservoirs that could meet the needs of the entire country for at least 70 years. Turkana is now home to a reserve of 250 billion cubic meters of water, and which is naturally replenished at the rate of about 3.4 billion cubic meters per year. This is potentially Africa's biggest freshwater underground source yet, larger than that found in sub-Saharan Africa's driest country, Namibia, last year. Now, this could increase the country's share of accessible water by 8.5% and is likely to double the amount of water that is available for consumption today, ultimately improving the lives of Kenyans living in water-scarce areas. Just last year, oil was discovered in the very same region. Moving on, the International Criminal Court has officially adjourned the hearing of Kenya's Deputy President William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang's trial following a delay in arrival of witnesses. The Deputy President arrived back home Thursday morning.
William Samuel Ruto, you have been charged in.
While at Hague, the Deputy President and co-accused journalist Joshua Arap Sang pleaded not guilty to charges of murder, deportation and persecution of people in Kenya's 2007-2008 poll violence.
Not guilty.
Thank you very much. You may resume your seat.
Who is responsible for the violence? The prosecution asserts.
Bensouda said the prosecution witnesses were expected to arrive in Hague today and asked the 3-judge bench to adjourn the trials until Tuesday next week.
The most responsible for the crimes of murder.
Alleged witness intimidation is an extremely sensitive issue to the ICC trials of Ruto and Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta.
With a common purpose.
From the Kenya Bar. My name is Evans Anai.
Several witnesses already have pulled out of the case.
To come to the conclusion that witnesses have deceived them, that their case is wrong, and to drop the case against William Ruto without further agony and pain. That is a difficult decision, Your Honor, but it's the honourable action for the prosecutor to do.
Ruto's lead counsel Karim Khan took issue with the adjournment and accused the office of the prosecutor for not being prepared for the case.
It was a serious request. They terminated the case against Ambassador Mathaura, realizing they got it wrong, realizing their key witness that they put forward as a witness of truth at confirmation had lied. It was their words that the witness had lied. And I hope that decision, although we had to drag them kicking and screaming to make the right decision in the case against Ambassador Mathaura, we hope that courage will remain and that they will do the right thing in the case of the Deputy President.
Ruto 46 is charged with masterminding deadly post-election violence 5 years ago.
Not guilty.
He is the senior-most politician today to face ICC judges. And his case comes after the Kenyan Parliament and Senate voted to pull out of the ICC.
Between the two of us, about an hour.
Very well, madam.
Moving on, Egypt has extended the state of emergency that was scheduled to end yesterday by 2 months, according to local media.
Interim President Abdel Mansour decided to extend the state of emergency by 2 months. The extension is based on the country's security conditions in the country and has the approval of the cabinet, and also some of the residents approve of it.
I think the emergency state should be extended until the country is stabilized because of the lack of security and because of the problems we are living through.
Facing continuous political chaos, some Egyptians predicted that the state of emergency would be further extended into the future.
The emergency law is not for me, it's for thugs and terrorists. So what is the problem if they make it for a year or two? Those who object to it are those who benefit from it, like the outlaws.
Egypt is still experiencing pockets of protest and violence from the Muslim Brotherhood movement supporters.
President of a Central African Republic dismissed the head of the armed forces after days of fighting with gunmen loyal to ousted leader Franco Bozize. The kills have left at least 100 people dead.
The fighting was the latest sign of instability since the Seleka rebel group seized power in March in the landlocked former French colony, plunging the nation of 4.5 million people into chaos and a deepening humanitarian crisis.
We are worried by this resurgence of violence. We can't live under fire all the time. There are other ways.
President Michael Jotodie, the former leader of Seleke, named General Ferdinand Bombayake as the new head of the armed forces in a series of changes to military top brass. Many people still want the government to be more responsible for the ongoing killings.
I ask the authorities to take responsibility, and I ask Jotodie to watch over those under his control, to put an end to crimes committed in areas in question. They have to stop massacring Central Africans. As to Bozize, I ask him to stop causing trouble. We the people are tired of this. We don't want any more tension or violence. We just want peace. They need to stop because right now they are pushing the people towards a civil war, like in Somalia.
The fighting came after a United Nations warning that Central African Republic was on the brink of collapse. Muslim Seleka fighters are targeting the Christian populations of the country's north. The rebellion in Central African Republic, one of the poorest places on earth, has triggered a humanitarian crisis after many aid groups and UN agencies pulled out, leaving people to fend for themselves.
Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe swore into office a 62-member cabinet of ministers and their deputies. Critics, however, say the move only rewards veteran headliners for his party's commanding victory in the disputed elections in July.
A jovial ceremony yesterday that brought into the cabinet many veteran party personalities accused of human rights violations since Mugabe led the nation to independence in 1980. Amid a worsening economic crisis, former Environment Minister Francis Nema became the head of the Black Empowerment Ministry, tasked by Mugabe to push ahead with a program to take over 51% control of the remaining foreign businesses. The program has scared away foreign investment badly needed for economic reconstruction and restoring bankrupt health, education and public services. Mugabe did not retain any members of the opposition who had been in a coalition with Mugabe after the last violent disputed elections in 2008. Patrick Chiramasa takes over as finance minister, replacing Tendai Biti, a member of the defeated Movement for Democratic Change.
The challenges are enormous, the responsibilities are enormous, but I'm confident that we can overcome them. We have to grow the economy, We have to increase indigenous participation in this economy. As stakeholders, they have to be stakeholders in the economy. But the people also understand that we are going to do all those things under a regime of sanctions.
Headliner Jonathan Moyo, the architect of sweeping laws to regulate the media in 2002, returned to the key information and broadcasting ministry. Moyo previously held the portfolio from 2000 to 2008. During that time, he crafted several controversial acts widely seen as restricting freedom of speech.
Those Zimbabweans who are working for pirate radio stations, and now we know they are also pirate television stations, should stop doing so, and that those who are funding these pirate broadcasting stations, whether radio or television, should stop funding them.
These now are... The Movement for Democratic Change said Mugabe had appointed a dead cabinet with members who served in ministerial posts since independence in 1980 and who were responsible for the nation's meltdown.
Kenya launched what is termed as the largest single initiative in the country so far to address energy supply, reliability and delivery challenges which have continued to impact the country's economic transformation agenda. Our reporter Hesbon Mugambi attended the conference and filed the following report.
It is an initiative that is aimed at reducing the cost of doing business in Kenya by providing reliable and adequate power at affordable and competitive rates.
This program, once complete, will raise the generation capacity by 5,538 megawatts from the current 1,664 megawatts to slightly over 6,700 megawatts by 2016, and in the process reduce generation cost in the US cents from 11 to 30 US cents to just over 7.4 US cents.
The East African nation has intensified efforts to generate its own power from other sources besides hydro, thermal and geothermal.
It will also mark a major step in our deliberate shift from unreliable hydro and expensive thermal-based power generation to reliable green and cheaper natural gas and large-scale coal-fired power plants, which will bring in the benefits of economies of scale to power generation.
Kenya has also been working on an ambitious nuclear program that will help produce energy to power the country's rising demand.
There's still some space for nuclear energy in this country. You know, European countries are in on nuclear energy. France, for instance, even exports nuclear energy to Spain. So we should not abandon nuclear energy. And I'm happy the project is still being funded. It takes a bit of time to put it together, but this is also part of our future.
The initiative to generate 5,000 megawatts in 40 months is aimed at facilitating the achievement of Vision 2030, a national development blueprint that aims to transform Kenya into a newly industrializing middle-income country by 2030.
What we are launching today, 5,000 megawatts plus in 40 months program, is perhaps one of the most important flagship projects Vision 2030 will undertake over the next 20 years, because this will essentially put Kenya on the map as a country in which you can put up large power plants. You know, today you can't put up a steel power plant because it's so much energy. So steel, cement, you know, heavy industry will now be able to be attracted to Kenya once we achieve this particular project.
The Energy Day brought together energy actors and key donors who will play critical roles in achieving the ambitious proposed roadmap.
I'm happy indeed to note that our development partners, Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, the French Development Agency, AFD, European Development Bank, World Bank, German Banking Group, KfW, and the Exim Bank of China have provided huge resources on concessionary terms in support of key project components in this 5,000 plus megawatts initiative.
The energy roadmap comes in the backdrop of the recent major oil discoveries in northern Kenya and intensified oil and mineral prospects in different parts of the country. If achieved, this ambitious energy roadmap is not only going to transform Kenya's economic fortunes, but will also move the country closer to achieving our development goals as envisioned in Vision 2030. Reporting for Ibru Africa, I'm Hesbon Mugambi.
Now, Shell is set to begin compensation talks with thousands of Nigerian villagers who say their livelihoods are ruined by two massive oil spills in the Niger Delta. The talks will take place in Port Harcourt, the capital of Nigeria's southern river state and the hub of Africa's largest oil industry.
For 5 years now, a London law firm and Anglo-Dutch oil giant have argued over reparations for one of the world's worst spills in Africa's oil heartland. But now, as fishing villages on the banks of the Niger Delta continue to count the cost of the leaks, compensation claims are finally due to be settled. The compensation talks, which could reportedly cost Shell £100 million, start in Port Harcourt. Should a multi-million-pound settlement be reached, it could set a precedent for payouts in developing but oil-rich nations. Some 15,000 residents of the villages in the Bodo community are seeking compensation. The London law firm Lay, which is representing the Nigerians, estimates that up to 600,000 barrels was spilled into the waters over 100 days. Shell disputes that figure and the amount of damage caused, but admitted liability in 2011 for the spills. The oil firm estimates that 4,100 barrels were leaked. According to the United Nations, the spill left at least 10 Ogoni communities with drinking water contaminated by high levels of hydrocarbons and the public health seriously threatened. Shell says oil thefts and sabotage of key pipelines are the major causes of spills in the Delta, where swathes of land have been ravaged by oil pollution. Previous talks have broken down over compensation and cleanup package for the Nigerians. Shell provided the villagers with food relief in 2009, but Lay blasted the supplies as entirely inadequate for a community of 31,000 people. Nigeria is the world's 8th biggest oil producer, pumping some 2 million barrels a day, and Shell is the biggest producer in the West African country, where it has been drilling for over 50 years.
Kenya's Kibera slum, the second largest in Africa, is home to thousands of families who are low-income earners. Conditions within the slum are deplorable, with many struggling to get basic commodities. Despite the numerous challenges, a group of youth from the informal settlement have started an initiative dubbed Amani Kibera to enhance education in the slum. Our reporter Olivia Ngatia brings us the story.
In 2008, during Kenya's post-election chaos, Kenya's Kibera slum was burning. Hundreds of houses were reduced to ashes, business premises destroyed, and hundreds of families were displaced. There was no peace in Kibera. It is in the wake of that violence that Ben Oko, a resident in Kibera slum, saw it good to unite with a group of youths from the same hood to enhance peace through an initiative dubbed Amani Kibera.
We started in 2007 during the tensest political campaigns in Kenya. At that time, there was a lot of negativity that was sent to Kibera, that many of the political leaders who are basically responsible for the slums in Kibera were talking so negatively about Kibera.
The main aim of the initiative was solely to educate different communities from Kibera slum on how to live together in peace.
Education is a key to a better future. If you use it well and if you're lucky enough, then you can have a good future. So for us, we thought like this was one way of giving back to this community, trying to transform the community that made us who we are today.
Oko saw it good to spread peace in Kibera, since that is where he was born and raised. This is his home, and growing up in such an unfriendly environment, he says it was not easy. It was a struggle every dawn. Majority of young people from this slum who are supposed to engage themselves in nation-building activities end up doing the opposite, engaging in criminal activities. This has been blamed on lack of quality education, which leads to lack of employment and lack of quality education among many because of poverty. But it is a new dawn now in this informal settlement.
This library daily it always occupies at least 300 per day students.
If I may take you back to the time that there was teachers strike in Kenya, this library was just being flocked by the students and that you could not actually regulate the number in because they were just too many.
Many residents have applauded this move. Tina Fell is a high school student. She frequently uses this library.
Okay, Amani Kibera is a library. It's been of good help to us students. There are a lot of textbooks in here. They really help us. We do them in revisions. Okay, the library is open anytime from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m.
The initiative also has a girls' empowerment program which delves mostly on matters affecting both young girls and women in Kibera.
Mainly we do girls' empowerment in different ways. We have 3 activities in the program. We have the beadwork section, where we treat it like an IGA for the girls. We have a daycare center, and we also have a fashion design school for the girls.
It's all about using all means to promote peace, educate and eradicate poverty in this informal settlement. Amani Kibera is an initiative which was started in 2008 after the post-election violence erupted in Kenya with the main aim of promoting peace through education. Now behind me is a library and a cyber cafe where members of the public come to study and do their research. Olivia Ngatia for Ebru African News in Nairobi, Kenya.
Moving on, during the 48th International Literacy Day, Somalia started a campaign aimed at bringing 1 million children to school. Let's get more details. The launching ceremony of the Go to School initiative was held in the capital city, Mogadishu. Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, representative of the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund to Somalia, Sikandar Khan, and other officials attended the event.
Go to school. They themselves actually don't.
The initiative, launched by the Somali government with the support of international organizations including the UNICEF, is aimed to help 1/4 of its children who have not had access to education go to school.
We have already lost 2 generations and we can't afford to lose another generation. So we have to do something. We have to unite for the sake of the Somali child. We have to be together. We have to do something. We cannot just keep waiting.
The initiative plan includes the repairing of school buildings and youth training facilities, as well as carrying out teacher trainings according to the authority. In Kenya, Nairobi County Assembly members plan to embark on a process of impeaching Governor Evans Kidero after he allegedly slapped women's representative Rachel Shebesh.
A statement by members of County Assembly allied to the Jubilee Coalition castigated Kidero for the incident and stated that they will begin the process of impeaching him over his conduct. This comes even as Kidero sent a statement to newsrooms claiming Shebesh had also assaulted him. He termed the incident as unfortunate and regrettable and assured residents of Nairobi that the matter, which was now in the hands of the investigative authorities, will be pursued within the due process. The storming of the City Hall was a premeditated act orchestrated by negative forces who were opposed to the ongoing reforms to streamline governance of the city.
I, Evans Odhiambo Kidero,
The Jubilee County Assembly members say they will consult with their counterparts allied to CORD Alliance to censure Kidero, coalition's values and principles. The County Assembly members are calling for the impeachment of the governor who allegedly slapped Rachel Shabash, who is the women representative for Nairobi, here at his office on Friday. For Ebru African News, I'm Miriam Kanyugo.
Now, a few days after South Africa's mine workers ended their strike, another auto industry strike kicked off in Johannesburg, with workers demanding higher salaries.
Thousands of workers have been organized by the National Union of Metal Workers, including component producers, panel beaters, service stations and petrol pump attendants, and other subsectors related to the business, shutting down petrol pumps.
We're the only country where basically super exploitation, where apartheid colonial wage is an accumulation strategy. And I think right from Marikana to deodorant to the militant strike, workers are sending one clear message that they are not going to accept super exploitation.
The strike was expected to grow to be the largest strike in South Africa's history, as around 70,000 union and 230,000 non-union workers took to the streets together to demand a double salary increment.
It's not that it's the negotiation with Labour that's a problem. It's the fact that Labour has become more militant and that strike activity has become the norm. And so when we analyse companies, analyse their performance, what we've noticed is that the increase in wages is not what causes the damage. It's the disruption to the work environment. In other words, as soon as you have a stoppage for a week or 2 or 3 weeks, that is what really hurts the company in terms of their financial performance.
The previous industry action had affected 7 of the world's major vehicle producers, including Toyota, Mercedes and General Motors. Workers returned to work Monday as they accepted a revised offer of a salary increase of 11.5% this year and a 10% for each of the next 2 years.
Ethiopians celebrated the Ethiopian New Year earlier this week. The Horn of Africa's nation follows a unique, slightly modified version of the archaic Julian calendar. Let's get more details.
Enkutatash is the first day of the new year in Ethiopia. It occurs on the 11th of September, according to the Ethiopian calendar. The date marks the approximate end of the rainy season. It has also been associated traditionally with the return of the Queen of Sheba to Ethiopia following her visit to King Solomon in Jerusalem in 980 BC. Large celebrations are held around the country to usher in the new year.
According to our culture, we celebrate New Year by slaughtering sheep and chicken. We bake bread, we make the local alcohol called tela, and also butter and yogurt because we eat butter and yogurt with the chicken. It's very important during this holiday.
In Addis Ababa, many churches bring their services out in the open grounds, accompanied by priests bearing prayer sticks who pray for large crowds of people camped out. The new year is a time to give, a time to share and celebrate with family and friends.
The new year is great because we are all in a good mood, especially after our country won the football match. Everything seems to be going very well all over the place. Our homes are happy and we'll celebrate the new year with our neighbors and spend the day gathering together in our neighborhood on New Year's Day. That's how we spend it.
The unique celebrations attract many tourists who join in the large crowds gathered in the streets to observe the very important day in the Ethiopian calendar.
I really love Ethiopian holidays, especially New Year, because the reason I have about the New Year is everybody celebrates it. Because not only Orthodox, not only Muslim or some other religions, all of them all Ethiopians in general celebrate it.
That story brings us to the end of the weekly report. Many thanks for watching. I'm Rina Shivesi.